And welcome to Studio 5. We are counting down to Oscar night, sitting down with actor Dennis Haysbert and getting a first look at the film, The Last Full Measure. And as we do all of that, we are counting down the 5 big stories in the world of uplifting entertainment this week. We begin now with the first 2. At number 5. Former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow is a married man. These are a few snapshots from his January 20th wedding to Miss Universe 2017, Demi Lee Nell Peters, in her home country, South Africa. In addition to these photos, the couple shared some video memories on Instagram. It's an extra sweet number 4.
It's a new Guinness World Records title.
The Waco, Texas Mars Wrigley plant crafted the world's largest Snickers bar. 4,782 pounds, 12 feet long, 24 inches tall, and 26 inches wide.
It's incredibly impressive. Some of my favorite record categories are big food because it has to be edible and it is also an engineering feat. So to get a nearly 5,000 pound bar of chocolate to stay together is really challenging.
It's heavier than a car, nearly as long as a truck, and candy makers crafted it in just a matter of days.
In Waco, we know what big is, so we chose to make an extremely large bar.
And I think we'll see that Snickers bar make an appearance somewhere along the road to the Super Bowl. Well, he's the face and voice of Allstate Insurance. He's also played a baseball player, a Secret Service agent, a U.S. Senator, and the President of the United States. I'm talking about actor Dennis Haysbert. He's sitting down with us backstage at the Museum of the Bible, talking about his career and his new work with the TBN docuseries, Inexplicable.
Here's the pitch to Serrano. He swings and drives with a deep left.
Ever since his 1989 appearance as baseball player Pedro Serrano in the movie Major League, Dennis Haysbert has been hitting home runs in the acting world. What's the reaction from fans when they see you?
It's always positive, which is fun and great. I've never been approached negatively, which is thank you.
But Allstate actually helps you drive safely with DriveWise.
He's also the longtime familiar face and voice of these popular insurance commercials.
I decided pretty early what I wanted to do. Sports is probably, I guess, second to what I'm doing now. Though I could have, gone places to play football or fenced or, played any number of sports. But I think I wanted to be an actor when I was 10 years old.
At 10?
At 10.
What happened at 10?
At 10, I just saw, movies that I just enjoyed. I saw movies that I liked that turned out to be classics. The Young Lions, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Well, it's my fault. See, we have a sort of a situation here. Joanna and I didn't just meet in Hawaii. We spent a good deal of time together. I mean, all the time after we met. And, well, we have this problem. I fell in love with your daughter. And as incredible as it may seem, she fell in love with me. And we flew back to San Francisco to see if you or Mrs. Straighton would have any objections if we got married.
That's Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, starring the legendary Sidney Poitier, the first black man to earn an Academy Award.
I just saw a lot of movies that I said, you know what? I said, I think I'd like to do that. And I don't know why. There's nobody else in my family doing it. It's just, it was a calling.
And speaking of calling, we're here at the Museum of the Bible with Haysbert to learn about his latest role.
And renamed the city Constantinople.
Hosting this TBN docuseries. Inexplicable. What brought you to this project to spread the word and the history of Christianity?
Well, the main reason is that I didn't know it was on all continents. I didn't know Christianity was on every continent in the world. So I wanted to see and talk about why that is and how that became.
Why is this an important story to tell?
It's good to know. You know, I was raised Christian. I'm baptized a Baptist, and I want to know the origins of Christianity and where it spread and how it spread. It wasn't always a pretty picture. I've been going to Sunday school and church from the time I could walk to the end of high school. But this brought me back in a way that I wouldn't have expected. And as I was narrating the show, I was also learning, you know, and sometimes I had to stop and take and say, really? You know, and sometimes it came across in my narration, the emotion of it.
I'm sure among the reasons you were asked is because of your inexplicable voice, if you will. You've got a voice that is extremely recognizable and powerful. When did you come into that voice?
Well, my daddy gave it to me.
Really?
So, I mean, I didn't know I had a voice until I started using it. So, and started getting recognized for it. So I've been at this for a long time. And there was a time where, you know, it wasn't so recognizable, you know, but that was a long time ago.
All right. The officer told me they're having to deal with...
I thought we ordered the National Guard.
Certainly long before his role as the much-loved President David Palmer in the long-running hit series 24. I can't let you go without talking about 24 and the assassination, because when people hear I'm going to talk to you, that was one of the things they were curious about and upset about, even to this day. What did you think when you first read that in the script, and what happened afterwards?
Well, I had already left the show by then, and they called me back to ask if I would do that, and I told them no for a good 6 months. I said, why would you do that? And I said, well, you know, you run the risk of losing a lot of viewers if you do this. I mean, this is not just somebody's wife that got killed or some other character. This is a president of the United States. I said, yeah, sure you want to do that? I said, okay, well, that's what I want for it. If you can match that, I said, okay, I'll do it. But, you know, you're not going to like it.
When did you feel like, I got it? This is definitely my career. I've made it, or ever?
I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that. You know, I've made it this far. There's still a lot I need to do and want to do.
We are all indeed a work in progress. We'll have more from Dennis Haysbert a little bit later in the show. And you can catch him right now hosting the TBN series Inexplicable. Still to come.
If you want the real story, you'll need to talk to the mud soldiers.
It's the true story of a Vietnam War hero.
He gave his life in 1966, and here we are today in 2020. And we're still talking about him.
Who saved the lives of more than 60 men.
Will never be forgotten.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
Yes.
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
At number 3.
I was sick, I couldn't even hold a pen to write.
An emotional Missy Elliott celebrated for her life and music on Monday's broadcast of the Urban One Honors Program on TV1.
He was funny and comforting.
The evening included a posthumous tribute to singer James Ingram, along with honors for entertainer Jamie Foxx and recording artist and social activist Chance the Rapper.
I'm 26 also, so like I haven't really lived my full life yet, so it's very, it's a lot of honor, but also like a lot of responsibility that comes with it, so it's cool, it's awesome.
At number 2, an honor for that Lecrae tune. The NFL League selected it for its Songs of the Season series.
What was your reaction when Get Back Right was selected as one of the songs of the season?
Oh man, I was honored. One of the most compelling parts of it was that the revenue from the song was going to be going toward, you know, justice reform, education reform, and just things along those lines. And so that was a big piece of it.
I've been doing this since 5th grade.
In his media tour celebrating the song's honor, the hip-hop artist also got the chance to put on his weatherman hat.
All over Atlanta, you can see we hanging out in the high 50s or low 60s. Ladies, listen, you know, get your hair umbrella or a trash bag or something, because it looks like you got some cloud coverage and a little of that green stuff. I think that's rain, okay?
You know, it certainly is a busy season for Lecrae. He's also recently performed at a Hawks game and has some new music soon to come. We'll get to number 1 in the countdown in just a little bit. Right now, we turn to what's new on the big screen. It is the true story of a Vietnam War hero. He's a medic who saves more than 60 before making the ultimate sacrifice in one of the bloodiest battles of the war. More than 30 years later, a Pentagon staffer investigates a Congressional Medal of Honor request for this unsung hero. He then uncovers a high-level conspiracy and puts his own career on the line. We head to the film's premiere for this Studio 5 first look at The Last Full Measure.
Operation Abilene was one of the bloodiest battles of the Vietnam War.
Everybody down!
An entire company nearly wiped out.
We are taking fire!
Prayed for a miracle. One came. His name is Pitts.
Pitts saved lives.
It's the ultimate story of valor and sacrifice, and it's really about service greater than self. And the story of William Pitsenbarger is one of the great untold stories of the Vietnam War.
We put him up for the Medal of Honor.
This was 30 years ago. I mean, is there an agenda you have I should know about?
Justice delayed is justice denied.
He gave his life in 1966, and here we are today in 2020, and we're still talking about him.
The Medal of Honor is the highest recognition of military valor there is. You'll prepare a full decorations review.
Mr. Pitsenbarger, sir.
I'm from the Department of Defense.
I'm here to learn about your son.
As a combat veteran myself, it got right to my heart. It's a story that really involves the brotherhood of arms.
If you want the real story, you'll need to talk to the mud soldiers.
The dedication that we have to this nation and to each other, that's the heart of the story.
Pitsenbarger comes down that wire and saves men he never even knew.
That really goes to the heart of who we are as veterans.
Sounds like a suicide mission.
Suicide is hopeless. What Pitsenbarger did was valor.
I think when a story like this comes along, it really pulls on all of us to say, you know, that human beings can be incredible things. We can do incredible things.
He was there to save lives, and that's what he was doing.
I think in these divisive times, a picture like this is especially important and will be welcome.
Why are you here?
Because you're here.
Ellie shouldn't even have been there. None of us should.
What are you saying?
That's friendly fire. We were fighting our own men.
It's about Vietnam, and it's about greed and corruption. It's a good film for us right now on the planet.
Getting that medal for Pitts, for the men I lost, might be the only decent thing I go out of that war.
It speaks to the best in humanity.
Pitsenbarger's father. He's dying.
Dying isn't harder than losing a child.
Any man who gives up his life for another man has fulfilled that last full measure on the path of life.
Give praise as this young man and show us that the sacrifices of the fallen will never be forgotten.
And And The Last Full Measure is in American theaters this weekend. You've heard it said time and time again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. That said, it is time to say it in pictures. Here's this week's Studio 5 Snapshot.
The first time I visited death row, I wasn't expecting to meet somebody the same age as me. From a neighborhood just like ours. Could have been me, Mama.
Audiences for the film Just Mercy keep growing, in part thanks to Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, who are buying out tickets at theaters in Oklahoma City this week, giving them away so audiences can watch the movie for free. Their work is indeed a family affair. Now, we're going to have more from Kim a little bit later in the show, but for what we've already seen, the Kardashian-West family is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. Moments away.
Would you like to pick a new name to mark your freedom?
Harriet. Counting down to Oscar night.
What did faith mean for Harriet on this journey?
It meant everything.
With actress Cynthia Erivo.
Don't you tell me what I can't do.
Who could take home the prize for Best Actress.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
At number 1.
Kim Kardashian West is a step closer to becoming a lawyer, having finished her first year of study as an apprentice. She's also busy promoting Kim Kardashian West, The Justice Project.
I went into this knowing nothing, and then my heart completely opened up.
Telling a child her life's over.
I held no value but my body.
How could you ever keep someone like him in prison till he dies?
You're not the worst of your mistakes. You shouldn't be defined as that.
How long have you been in for?
I've been incarcerated since I was 16 years old. 23 years now.
The 2-hour documentary airs April 5th on Oxygen.
Kim Kardashian West is certainly doing work worthy of applause. We'll bring you more on her documentary as it gets closer. That wraps our countdown of uplifting entertainment for the week and brings us to our countdown to Oscar night, where Cynthia Erivo is hoping to take home the prize for Best Actress for her role in the film Harriet. We're chatting with her and taking a look back at the film. This is the last known photograph of Harriet Tubman, taken about a month before she died in Auburn, New York, where she's also buried with the simple epitaph, Servant of God, well done.
She was a formerly enslaved woman who took her own freedom.
Biographer Kate Clifford Larson shares Harriet's story in Bound for the Promised Land, Harriet Tubman, Portrait of an American Hero.
She had this intensity about her, this love for her family, love for her community, profound, deep faith that guided her and protected her. All of those things made this woman that became the greatest, Underground Railroad agent of all time.
I think I'm going to back it off a little bit. Maybe.
That agent's story is now a major motion picture. Tony Award-winning actress Cynthia Erivo plays the role of Harriet.
Cynthia, what would you say the greatest lesson Harriet Tubman taught you in doing this film?
That even when you feel small or insignificant, that you probably have more power than you know.
There's not much time. You got to be miles away from here before dawn. Where is she? Follow that North Star. If there are no stars, just follow the river. Listen for them. Fear is your enemy. Whoa, easy now.
I'm gonna be free or die.
I don't know if you know how extraordinary this is, but you have made it 100 miles to freedom all by yourself. Would you like to pick a new name to mark your freedom?
Harriet.
What did faith mean for Harriet on this journey?
It meant everything. I think it was one of the driving forces for her to keep moving forward. She says, notably, that God would give her messages in which she would use to follow through. And that is part of her story. She used to tell a one-woman story, one-woman performance about her run to freedom, and she would talk about the connections in which she made with God, the messages she would get from God to make the journey. So I believe it was one of the most important things to her, and she would speak on that faith. Yeah.
Rescuing slaves requires skill and careful planning. It requires reading, Harriet. Can you read a sign or a map? Can you read it all?
I put my attention on trying to hear God's voice more clearly.
Do you know what would happen if you got caught? They would torture you until you pointed them right to this office. You got lucky, Harriet. And there's nothing more you can do.
Don't you tell me what I can't do. I made it this far on my own. God was watching, but my feet was my own. Running, bleeding, climbing, nearly drowned, nothing to eat for days and days, man. I made it. So don't you tell me what I can't do.
How emotional was the experience?
Oh. It was very emotional. For me, particularly, it was emotional. It pulled on everything, you know. You're reliving loss consistently. You're reliving hardships and hard work, and when you combine that with exhaustion and tiredness and the physical work that has to be done, you wear yourself quite thin, so that the line between you and the character and the person sort of fades a little. So everything is right at the surface. Yeah, it was intense.
Erivo, by the way, is up for 2 Academy Awards. You can catch the 92nd Academy Awards Sunday evening, February 9th. We can watch together and see if Cynthia takes home the gold. Coming up, a final question.
If you could go back and tell that young 10-year-old Dennis some advice, if you could go back in time and give him inspiration, what would you say to him?
And a final answer from actor Dennis Haysbert.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life, life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to Studio 5. We have brought you an inside look at movies, sports, television, and all-around entertainment. But no Studio 5 is complete without music. It fuels this weekly production, and this week it's a tune from Harry Styles. Take a listen and hear why Adore You is what's playing in my ear. On that musical note, we are almost out of time for this episode of Studio 5, so let's look ahead and see what's coming up next week.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap.
Continuing our countdown to the Academy Awards.
Fundamentally, it's a very simple story. Two men have about 8 hours to get from one part of the Western Front to another.
We look at the film with 10 nominations. 1917.
Blake is the heart of the film. It's Blake's love for his brother which accelerates the story.
And again, that film has 10 nominations. We'll show you exactly why come next week. As for the final word for this week's show, we return to where we began, our sit down with actor Dennis Haysbert. And one final question.
If you could go back and tell that young 10-year-old Dennis some advice, if you could go back in time and give him inspiration, what would you say to him?
Make the decision to leave home sooner. And go take care of it, go do it. But as it was, I had a good push. So it worked out the way it was supposed to work.
But looking back, you think you may have stayed home too long?
Might have. You can always start earlier.
What kept you back? What was it?
I don't know. Indecision, doubt. We all have it.
Indecision, doubt, fear. We all have it, but we all must rise above it. Thank you, Dennis. That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.